Okay, we will go ahead and get started. This month, we are very excited to have Sheila Gulley Pleasants from the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts with us. She is the deputy director there. She has served VCCA since 1989 when she moved from New York City to Mount St. Angelo to become residential staff with her husband, Craig Pleasants. In addition to managing the review process and the scheduling of over 400 writers, visual artists, and composers each year at Mount St. Angelo in Central Virginia. She administers VCCA international exchange programs with artist communities in Austria and Germany. Since 2004, she has also managed the VCCA's programming at Le Moulin à Neuf VCCA Studio Center in Southwest France. She has taught French in the Modern Languages Department at Sweetbriar College and Randolph-Macon Women's College. She has also taught English at the Université d'Orléans in France. She holds an MA in French from New York University, an MEd in English and from Converse College, and a BA in French from Wake Forest University. We ask that you please put all of your questions in the chat, and Sheila can choose to answer them either during her presentation or at the end of her presentation. If you'd also like to put introduce yourself in the chat in case you potentially meet someone on the coffee hour this morning that you'd like to work with. We welcome you to do that also. And Piper will also be recording this. This will go up on our website in case you need to go back and review it after this presentation. Sheila, you can take it away.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you guys on a beautiful spring Virginia morning. I'm here at Mount St. Angelo, which is the home of the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts, and we have been here for over 40 years. We're an hour south of Charlottesville and right across the road from Sweetbriar College. We're a pretty much classic version of the artist community, which means that we offer time and space for writers, composers, and visual artists to just come and work. And we provide 3 meals a day and a private studio and a private bedroom. So that's what we do. We're not a presenting organization. We're really pretty much the R&D of the arts. So it's the behind the scenes things that happen. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about what we offer, and I've got some slides to show you, and then as you have questions, you can put them in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer them. So let's see if I can get this to work. Okay, can everybody see that? And I see the chat at the same time, I'm not sure. Okay. All right, so as I said, this is our location at Mount St. Angelo. So it was a 1930s dairy barn that was converted into artist studios. You can see all the different skylights across the top of the barn. But it was built in the 1930s. It's a classic cinder block barn, actually built from cinders in the concrete block. A beautiful structure, and this is where we house 22 studios. We have 22 fellows here at any one time, 3 composers, 9 visual artists, and 12 writers. So it's a beautiful location, and we have people who come from all over the world. So we have several international exchanges. So right now, we have an Iranian artist, we have a German artist here. So not only are you here to work on your own work, but there's also the community, the camaraderie of the people involved. We have a more modern, this is the Fellows Residence, which was built in and you can tell it's built in 1979, but it's a comfortable space that has 22 bedrooms. And each fellow is given a private studio and a private bedroom in this structure, just about a 5-minute walk away. You can see that there's a little gazebo with, originally on this site was a mansion, and it burned down during renovation, and different elements of the mansion are incorporated within that small gazebo. anyway, we've been here since 1970. VCCA was founded in 1971. We've been at Mount St. Angelo since about 1978. It was founded up around Charlottesville, Virginia, and had sites at Wavertree and Prospect Hill. And when we lost those sites, one of the fellows had been a professor of poetry at Sweetbriar College and knew that the Mount St. Angelo estate was not being adequately used, and so asked if they could have use of that space, and that's when we moved. Let's see. This is just the office building on campus. This is where I am right now. And this is the residence from the other side. So we're accessible, we're handicapped accessible, have space in each of the three genres where people who are wheelchair riders can work. This is another shot of the studio barn. Again, people from all over the world come here. We generally run about 10% Virginia artists, and we run about 30% from New York. But of course, the artists that are in New York are not from New York. There are a lot of Virginians living in New York right now. Oops, did I lose something? Can you still see my screen?
Looks like it went away.
Okay, let me see. Let me try again. Sorry about that. Okay. So everyone gets most of the buildings, most of the studios are, you can see it now? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Most of the studios are within the studio barn complex, but this is a small writer studio that's in the backyard that we call the corn crib. So there's a writer in there, and then the small building beyond that is a composer studio. So the three composer studios are a little bit away from the others just for sound isolation. Again, this just gives you a sense of the building. So we've been here at Mount St. Angelo for 40 years, over 40 years. Sweetbriar College has leased the spot to us for $1 a year for all those 40 years. But in 2020, Sweetbriar agreed to sell us the property. So right now we own all 400 acres of Mount St. Angelo, which has been an immensely important step for us just in terms of, having a permanent foothold in the world. We were always happy to be the beneficiaries of Sweetbriar's generosity in letting us use the property. But of course, being connected to them, they had their challenges, as you may have heard, and it was just great to be able to take the step to sort of control our own destiny and hold the property ourselves. This is a couple of visual artist studios. It's very simple, straightforward place. So we were able in 2020, we had been trying to purchase the property for several years, or working with Sweetbriar, trying to negotiate that purchase and trying to raise the money that was needed. And then in 2020, we received the gift of a Georgia O'Keeffe painting that we were able to, from one of our board members, and with the gift of that painting, we found a buyer for it through Christie's and sold the painting. And with that purchase, that sale of that painting, we were able to purchase the property. So the painting was sold for $2.5 million. We bought the property. It was kind of an amazing stroke of good luck. We were able to purchase the property outright. So I love the idea that it's a female painter who has allowed in perpetuity this place for painters, writers, and visual art and composers to come and find time and space to work. So that's been really a game changer here at VCCA. So all the money that we had raised to try to purchase the property was able to, once we had the painting, all that money we had raised was able to be used for improvements. So working on accessibility, working on increasing our endowment, during the pandemic, like many organizations, we closed for about a year, actually a year and 4 months. And during that time, because we purchased the property in 2020, we had a full year that we were able to work on improvements to the property. And we were able to do the kinds of things that were really important during the COVID era. So we had shared bathrooms. So 2 fellows shared a bath. They were sort of economic, we were like many nonprofits working to, make it everything efficient. But once we were able to purchase the property, we put in private bathrooms for all the bedrooms. We put in an outdoor patio for dining. We put individual HVAC in all the studios and bedrooms. So all those things worked well within the new COVID era, so that people had separate air spaces. This is looking up from a visual artist studios at one of the silos. So that's just a skylight. Here's an idea of what a composer studio is like. So a composer studio just has a baby grand, a desk. Again, it's what we offer basically is our blank spaces where someone can come in with their ideas and their imagination and get to work on work that they've been wanting to do but have not been able to focus on. So we provide that focus, which is basically lack of interruption. And you'll see in these pictures of the studios, we also have, there's a bed in every studio, and some people choose to live with their work. So that's just an option. They also have a private bedroom. So not only do they have the privacy and space to focus on their work, they are within this community of people. So, like-minded peers, so that they have so breakfast is served communally in the dining room. Lunch is taken up to the studio barn, so you're not interrupted. But every night, people come together and have kind of a family style dinner. 22 people having dinner together. Everyone has had a quiet day in their studio, and it's a moment to talk about the process. There are great connections that are made there in terms of learning about agents or media, or there's all sorts of sharing there. This is the library in the fellows' residence, and we have a library of thousands of books by VCCA fellows, books and scores and art catalogs. This is the living room of the fellows' residence. And often this is where fellows will share their work. So they might have a poetry reading, play work, talk together. And again, what we offer is time and space. We don't do any programming. So anyone who is sharing their work, they do that kind of on their own terms. This is the outdoor patio that was created during the renovation while we were closed. So again, it provides an outdoor space to eat. So depending on where we are in the pandemic, it's an option. People are still availing themselves of that. And actually this time of year, it is the most delightful place to eat. Again, the living room where readings and stuff happens. These are the lunches served up at the kitchen in the studio barn. So everyone gets their own individual lunchbox, which they can take back to their studio or take it outside to eat. So that's an option. We partner with Meriwether Godsey, which is a food service company. They do the food at Sweetbriar College, and I think a number of places in Richmond as well. And they have taken over our food service and are great in terms of dealing with food allergies or different issues, because we do have a fairly sensitive population, a lot of vegetarians, a lot of vegans, and they do a really great job. We've been real happy with them. That's another thing that we was able to be upgraded during the pandemic. This is the dining room in the fellows' residence. Again, this is, this seats about the 22 people who are here. Again, during the pandemic, people spread out more. We had places for them to eat in the residence as well. So happy people being fed at the end of the day. Outdoors. And then this is up at the studio barn, often where they'll take lunch. We still have the farm, so we have the 400 acres, and we have local farmers from Amherst County who use our fields around the VCCA for their cattle. It's just sort of a trade. They keep the fields up and the fence line up, and then they provide cows, which we have a lot of people who are from urban areas who they're happy to see have a little taste of rural life. It's just gorgeous. You sometimes have to drive through the cows in the morning. We have an old 1930s swimming pool on site. And a couple of times a year we have a volunteer day where people come and do some light gardening, and we provide lunch. This is a way some people who are interested in coming to the VCCA, they'll come and participate in a volunteer day. We get a free lunch from Meriwether Godsey they prepare, and kind of a little tour of the grounds. And so if you're interested in doing that, we do have, and some people who've been in residence, fellows will come back and do this. We'll have about 20 people who come. So we have had people come from as far away as Richmond. So that's an option, and that is usually on our website. These are some studio shots. These are open studios. Again, fellows choose to open their studios to each other as they wish, but twice a year, generally in the fall and the spring, we do have public open studios if people want to come and see the facilities and see what the spaces are like and what the artists are doing. It's optional for the artists to open up, but we generally have 7 or 8 to 10 who open up, and that's a good opportunity to see what the space is like. People doing installations in the woods around, photographers, filmmakers. This is a poetry reading in the fellows' residence that we saw earlier. Here they are outside on the patio in the evening. And then I think we've just got some nature shots. Anyway, it's an absolutely gorgeous spot. And but when people are here, they really are completely focused on their work. And sometimes I don't even meet the people who are here because they just stay up in their studio and there's nothing required on our end. To apply, people submit work samples. We use the slide room platform, and we have a jury who reviews the work. It's a panel of peers, we call it. So they're former fellows who jury the work and make recommendations. And the scheduling is done 3 times a year. So we've actually just passed a scheduling deadline. Was May 15th. We have 3 a year: May 15th, September 15th, and January 15th. The way that we operate in terms of fellows pay what they can afford. So we call our artists who are in residence here, whether they're composers, visual artists, or writers, they're all fellows. Everyone has a subsidized fellowship. It costs us about $150 a day to operate. And we ask fellows if they're able to pay $75 a day, but we have extensive financial assistance in a number of fully funded residencies. So fellows all pay what they can. Yeah, so fellows all pay what they can afford. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. But another thing that we have that we're able to offer is VCCA in 2004 was given 2 acres and studio buildings in Southwest France. And that's what this is, the Moulin à Neuf, which is in Auvillard, a little town on the Garonne River. You can see the river in the background there. And that is an hour west of Toulouse. And once you've been in residence at the VCCA, you are eligible to apply for a residency there. There we only have 4 fellows at a time. This is the town center in Auvillard. This is just in front of the building there. This is the living room at the Moulin à Neuf, sculpture at the top of the hill, the Garonne River, and then we're back in Virginia. In addition to the program in France, we have exchanges with the Oberpfälzer Künstlerhaus in Bavaria, and we have 4 artists a year who come from that, and we send 4 fellows a year to Bavaria, and then we also have an exchange with the Salzburg Künstlerhaus, and we send 1 visual artist there. Anyway, that is kind of a sense in visuals of what we have to offer here, and I encourage you to come visit. I'd be happy to give a short walkabout, and then of course we have set those public events. We have 2 volunteer days every year and 2 open studios every year when people can come and kind of look at things. So what in terms of application, if people are interested in coming here, I mean, we're the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts. So what we support are originating artists. So we would support playwrights, but not actors, composers, but not musicians. That's kind of the choreographers, but not the core, you know, not the dancers themselves. So that's what we host here. All applicants would submit work samples in their genre and indicate a project that they're going to work on. That work is reviewed, and then we schedule 3 times a year. And so we schedule 4 months at a time. And this last, our applications, and I don't know if this is related to COVID or our improvements, because our facilities are so much nicer than they were before the pandemic. But our applications are up about 150%. We're able to schedule about 18 to 20% of those who apply. Fellows pay what they can afford. And it seems to be a good formula. And the number of people that we have here seems to be a good range too. We have 20 at a time. It means you've got several tables of people. So you're, you know, if there's someone you don't particularly get along with, let there be space in our togetherness, which works pretty well. And then another thing which has really elevated the number of applications that we have is we just celebrated our 50th anniversary. We were founded in 1971. So we just celebrated our 50th anniversary. And as a way to celebrate, we inaugurated the 50th anniversary fund, which supports 50 new to VCCA artists of color 2-week free residencies. So that kind of put us on the map in terms of just letting a number of people know about what we have to offer, and that has also contributed to our really high increase of applications, and also the diversity of those applications. It really kick-started us in terms of more having a more diverse population. 47% of our applicants were applicants of color, and that's generally what we've been scheduling now. So that's been kind of a great change here, but it does make it harder for people to get in a way. We're sending more rejection letters because of that. We're some artist communities are kind of a very limited opportunity where you maybe have 1 residency and are not allowed to reapply. We run about 50% new and 50% returning by design. So it's a continuing culture. So people who've been in residence, you have the opportunity to come back. We have 400 artists a year. So about 200 every year are brand new. But that also means the 200 who are new this year are returning next year. So it gets harder to get back in, but it's not like once you're here, you're not coming back. We kind of supportive of you throughout your career. So it's really a great place, and has a lot to offer, I think, just in terms of time and space for yourself and your work. People can focus on what they feel they were put on the earth to do, and we don't interrupt that. So we just don't get in the way. It's a matter of providing food, space, time, community. And it seems to be a great combination. People say they get more work done here in 2 weeks than they would get done, in 3 months at home. So that's what we do. So I don't know if you have questions or about how we work or what we offer, but that's the basic introduction.
Chris, you could go ahead and ask your question. I see your hand raised.
Awesome. Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Good morning, Sheila. Thank you for the presentation. I just had a question. I know that you mentioned that there are 3 time frames for applications, and they open. Can you talk a little bit more about the time frames in which residencies can occur with those applications? Do they line up with a specific application time frame, or are the residencies open to any time after your acceptance?
Yes, that's a good question. We have 3 application deadlines a year. So the most recent one was May 15th, and the May 15th deadline is for the winter scheduling period. So May 15th, you apply if you want to be here from January to April. So and that's outlined on our website. But so you're applying for a specific 4-month period, and you apply for however much time you feel you need. So residencies run from 1 week to 8 weeks. So, and we don't have a cohort. People don't come in on the same day and leave on the same day. So people are coming and going. We usually have about 5 or 6 new people arriving every week. It's kind of like a revolving door of people coming through. But so you apply for the time that works for you. And for some people, if you're working a job or have young kids, or, a week or 2 might be all you can do. But for others, if you're on sabbatical, or if you have a big project and you need 6 weeks to do something, you can apply for that. And you apply for the time that you want. So if you need to be here in, early January because you teach, you can do that. You can apply for that time period. So we're pretty flexible. Some artist communities have a particular cohort, so you would arrive together at the same time, and that builds a very tight community. I mean, there's much to be good to be said about both situations, but we work on the schedule of the artist instead of the schedule of VCCA. So we work to make time and space available for those who who want to come here to work, and we just try to get as close to the time that they need.
Awesome. Thank you, Sheila.
Oh, you're welcome.
Orion, I saw you raise your hand.
Hey, thank you. I just had a question about applying as a cohort a little bit. I know you said you don't have people coming in like that, but some of the projects I'm working on sort of contain a team aspect and a collaborative element. Is there a way for us to apply as a unit, or should we each individually apply as residents?
We ask that collaborators apply separately, but then indicate within your project description who you're working with and that kind of thing. We generally don't have more than 2 or 3 at a time. And again, they would all need to be originating artists. So it's not you as a composers with musicians or coming, but there are people who do collaborative work, whether it's performance or music or that type of thing. And we do allow that. Generally, each person is given a studio and a bedroom, and then you collaborate as you wish.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Something, it's usually like I songwrite with a team occasionally to really develop someone's voice, and things like that. The other thing I was curious about is if you had any more images of the inside of the composer studios, or you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the I don't think I have any more immediately on hand. There may be some on our website. Our website is VCCA.com, and I'll put that in the pretty straightforward. But I think there are images of the studios there. There are a lot of images on that website, and you can look there. But composer studio, we have 3 composer studio. They each have a baby grand piano, desk space, and most of the studios have the writer studios as well have cork board walls so that people can pin up stuff so that you can work visually within that space. But basically it's just a blank space with a piano in it and a bed. So
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
they're not particularly large. I mean, several people can work in there. We have had collaborators work in those spaces. Yeah, but that's pretty much what the studios are. And then in our program in Southwest France, all the studios are multi-genre studios. So we have electronic keyboard that can be put in any studio. So all of those are a little bit, those aren't as genre specific, whereas here at VCCA, they're very much genre specific.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The other thing to know is that there is a whole field of artist communities. So there's a group called the Alliance of Artist Communities. I think they just changed their names to the Artist Community Alliance. Anyway, it's the ACA, and that is a group that is a consortium of all the programs. And if you go to that site, you can search for what you want. There are hundreds of opportunities. We're one of the only ones of our kind in the Southeast, but there are hundreds and hundreds of artist communities that have anywhere from 1 to 15, 20. I think we're the largest. We have 400 artists a year. But there are plenty of iterations of artist communities that can might be able to suit your needs as well.
Tim, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. And thanks, Sheila. My question is, I guess, looking at the application process, I'm middle-aged, but my career is just finally beginning. I look at the fellows at VCCA, and they've seems like they all have MacArthur Genius Grants already. It's the impression you get. And I guess my question is, what are you looking for? Like, what characterizes a successful application there?
Well, the primary part of the application is the work sample. So it's not the thickness of the resume, it's the work sample. And that's what the panelists are asked to look at. And we have people here at all stages of their career. I mean, we highlight some of the, the heavy hitters just because that helps with the funders particularly.
I see. Right.
We have tons of people at all different stages of their career. I mean, we have people who are just starting out. We have lots of unpublished people. It's really the full range. So I don't think you should feel daunted by that at all. It's really, it's the work sample. It's the work sample that you submit, and it's not the resume or the list of awards. So that you can be assured of that.
It's nice to hear that. Thank you.
I'll put.
I was going to say, do we have any more questions from anyone else?
I feel like you would share this, Sheila, but I was wondering, how could we get in contact with you? I have a few other questions to share, but I think that's better suited for offline.
Okay. Yeah. I just put my email in the chat. And then also, and thanks Orion for putting in the artist communities link. So the Alliance of Artist Communities is where you can go to see a lot of different opportunities with other communities, because we're one of a whole field of places doing this kind of thing. And yeah, feel free to email me spleasants@vcca.com with any specific questions. And if you go on our website, you can see under the apply link, there are lists of, we'd have a number of fully funded residencies. We have the 50th anniversary fund that I was talking about. We also have different specific things for fully funded residencies for female fiction writers, for composers writing work for children. I mean, there's kind of a whole list, that funders have designated specific categories. But that being said, we also have a lot of financial assistance. So people pay what they can afford. We have people here paying $5 a day. We have people here paying $75 a day. We have people here paying everything in between. So don't let the $75 a day bit scare you off. We have again, it's cost us about $150, but about half of that is covered by our annual fund every year, and our endowment that we're working to build. In terms of, as I mentioned, we have those 4 opportunities a year to come to Mount St. Angelo and kind of see it from the inside. The volunteer days in the spring and fall, the open studios in the spring and fall. We're also going to have a big fundraising event here on June 17th. It's our garden gala, and that's, if you go up under events, you can see details on that. But so there's a ticket price on that because it is a big fundraiser. But if you're interested in doing that, we would love to see you. We'll have some entertainment coming down from New York. We have tours of the space, and that'll be a lovely evening to be here in June. So that's another thing that we have happening. Also on our website during the pandemic, as many did, and I'm sure it led to such events like this, but we did a number of Zoom readings, and we have a monthly newsletter. If you go on our website, you can sign up for that newsletter. You can also see all the past Zoom readings or performances, that type of thing. So it's what we tried to do during the pandemic is mimic what we call, as you saw, people doing readings in front of the fireplace or sharing their work compositions. So it's called the Fireplace series. And so it's people sharing their work as they would, at the fireplace, around the fireplace. And those are all available online if you want to get a sense of some of the people who have presented. And again, not all National Book Award winners, but great people, and it gives you a sense of the population here.
Well, thank you, Sheila, for presenting for us this month. Since we do have a lot of artists here, Piper is our marketing person, and she does monthly artist spotlights. So please feel free to reach out to her about possibly doing a spotlight with CultureWorks. It goes on our social media, and it also goes on our website. I am the community engagement strategist. I also look for artists to work with for different community events and other things like that we do, and could also highlight your work in our newsletter. So definitely feel free to reach out to both of us. And thank you so much for attending this month.
Looks like Orion, did you have something to say?
Yeah, sorry. I just actually had a question about CultureWorks. I'm sorry that I'm trying to remember how I got on the email list, but I'm glad I'm here. And so I was wondering if you could give a little bit of overview about CultureWorks real fast, so I think I understand what it is, but if you don't mind, that would be really helpful for me.
Yes, I will try my best. I've been with CultureWorks for 6 months. Our president is on the call also, so if I miss anything, I'm sure he'll jump in. But
Cool.
we are a nonprofit arts and culture organization based out of Richmond, Virginia. We also have an annual grants program for artists and arts organizations. And then our biggest annual event is Artober, which is a celebration of arts and culture every October. So those are our 2 primary areas that we work in. And I've created this new program, Coffee Hour, to give a wide range of topics for the year on things that I thought would be interesting to individual artists as well as organizations.
Yeah,
and then we have networking events that are up on our website. So if you're on our mailing list, Piper sends those out an invitation quarterly. We have happy hours, and then we also do work in the Tri-Cities with artists and arts organizations down there. Scott, if I missed anything, please fill in.
6 months in, and she did a great job summarizing our key programs. That's terrific. Thank you, Catherine. Orion, thanks for asking the question. I would just add to Catherine's comments. Our overall mission is to strengthen arts and culture or nonprofit organizations and individual artists in our service area, which is the Richmond and Tri-Cities region. And so that's Richmond, the counties, and the counties surrounding it, all the way down to Petersburg, Hopewell, Colonial Heights, and as far north as Hanover and Ashland. Catherine already talked about the key programs, and if you're not on if you found this through Facebook and you're not on our mailing list, you can email Piper, who I see has her email address in the chat already. But just to say it for folks, because I don't always love going to look at the chat. Piper at richmondcultureworks.org. You can email her and say, hey, please add me to your artist list or your arts and culture organization list, and we'll keep you on the list.
Cool. Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate that. And thanks for giving me all that information and what you do. It sounds really cool. I look forward to being connected.
Thank you. And thank you, Sheila, for a great presentation. That was really interesting. And I think a lot of folks are now thinking about applying, I suspect.
Wonderful. Well, we look forward to hearing from you. And again, if you have any questions, you can email me directly. And I've really enjoyed being with you all this morning. And thank you, CultureWorks, for what you do for the Richmond area. It's wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you, Catherine and Piper. Great, another great session. Tell your friends about this and come back for the next one.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.